Hi, I'm Christine Livermont. I teach ERWC here at West Ranch. Period 2, I teach with Mr. Theris, and period 3 is on my own. I wanted to go over some of the fundamentals about the class with you today. I know you've already looked over the course orientation with your student, but I thought I would just review some of the highlights to make sure that you understand what the course is about. So the ERWC course was designed by the Cal State system to help better prepare students for the rigors of English 101 in college. It has a heavy emphasis on rhetorical thinking and writing and speaking, and the majority of the texts that we read are expository texts with some literature woven in there as well. In this class, students learn to closely and attentively read and annotate a variety of nonfiction texts as well as some fiction texts. And the class follows a similar pattern. So for every unit, we read it rhetorically, we discuss it, and then we write rhetorically. All assignments, especially during distance learning, but beyond distance learning as well, are posted on Google Classroom, and that's updated each class meeting with that day's assignment. Any materials and activities that are affiliated with that assignment will be posted there as well. Almost all of the assignments are submitted through Google Classroom. There's a few exceptions to that, one of them being the final draft of essays, which are collected on turnin.com. The course is organized into modules, and each module can span anywhere from 3 or 4 days to maybe up to like a 5-week period. And the modules build skills. So the skills are constantly building as we go through each module to where by the end of the year, hopefully they have become much better at reading critically and evaluating texts and writing rhetorically. So some of the texts that are part of semester 1 are What's Next? Life After High School. That's actually our first unit that we are just now diving into. We did some self-assessment, we did a self-portrait, we evaluated who we are as students and as learners and what our strengths are with reading and writing, areas where we might need to work in terms of reading or writing, and did some goal setting for the year. And now we're kind of diving into our first full module, which again is called What's Next? Life After High School. We'll be reading a variety of different texts, some TED Talks, some newspaper articles, and the unit culminates with our college personal statements. So we're gonna be writing our college personal statement. I give them a choice to write one of the UC prompts or the Common App prompt, but if they have a different university outside, that a private school or somewhere out of state that they're applying to, and they wanna use that school's personal statement, that's totally fine. So you should see them working on that in about 3 weeks or so. Additional units that we'll be looking at this semester are the Daily Me, Fake News and Bias in Reporting, Is Boredom Good for You? And then a couple, if we have time, will be The Value of Life and Island Civilization. Grading. Every assignment has a point value, and grades are determined, they're not weighted, they're just based on, points. So some assignments might be as little as 5 points. Some assignments might be as many as 50 points. Well, more for like writing and final drafts of essays and things along those lines. So 90% to 100% would be an A, 80 to 89% would be a B, 70 to 79% is a C, 60 to 69% is a D, and then less than that would not be a passing grade. So attendance is directly linked to success in the course. Students need to be here, they need to be here on time and ready to go. And that's true whether we're in the classroom or whether we are, meeting on Zoom. When we're on Zoom, their camera has to be on. That is a requirement. And they usually start out the class muted, but then when they need to speak, they just unmute themselves. Or if we're in small groups and we're doing like breakout groups on Zoom, then they unmute themselves for that. Participation is a key element, and I try to do participation in a variety of different ways. I know some students aren't comfortable speaking out in a large group, so we try to do lots of, smaller group discussions and some whole class discussions as well. Late work. All assignments that are posted on Google Classroom have a specific due date. I try to give a good chunk of time for students to get work done. So we start it in class, we go over it in class. They have class time to, that's dedicated to working on whatever assignment is for that day. If they don't finish, they have until the next class meeting to finish that assignment. So they have several days, and they can work on it, at a time that's convenient for them, the time that works best for them. So assignments, unless otherwise specified, are due at 8 a.m. on the next class meeting date. So if we're meeting on Monday, the assignment would be due on Thursday. If we're meeting on Thursdays, the assignment would be due on Mondays. But it's always posted on Google Classroom. It's always very clear so that there's not any confusion about, when something is due. I don't give full credit for late work. So if it's turned in after the designated due date, it's deemed late. And at that point, they can earn up to 60% of the original points if they submit it within our current unit of study. So if they missed an assignment, they can still earn up to 60% of those points as long as we're still on that unit. I do give them 2 opportunities because I know life happens sometimes. There might be a technology glitch or something else can come up. So the first 2 assignments they turn in late, I'll accept those for full credit, no penalty. That's, gives them a little bit of a buffer. Beyond that is when the 60% would come into play. If they're absent, they need to make sure that they're checking Google Classroom. It's their responsibility, if they're not here, to go in and look to see, what it is that we've done that day. And then if they want or need to follow up with me by email to try to get some additional clarification or additional instruction, or want to plan a time to meet to talk about it in more detail, we can absolutely do that. But they do need to log in and check that. And if an absence is excused, then they would get, some extra time to complete that assignment for full credit. If they miss a test, and there really aren't very many tests in ERWC, just a few quizzes, then they have a 2-week window from the time that they missed that test to make it up. And they just need to contact me to schedule a time to take that assessment. It would not be the same assessment that the rest of the class took. It would be some type of, makeup assessment. After the 2-week period, though, the grade would change from a missing to a 0. So we definitely don't want to do that. Really to be successful in this class, students need to be here. They need to log in. They need to be, pay attention and be focused. I try to remind them, not to have distractions, and just to really try to, be immersed in whatever it is we're doing that day, at least during the direct instruction portion. Once we break off and kind of do individual work, they may need to take a break and come back, and that's okay. As long as sometimes I'll dismiss the class a little bit early so that they can, when we're online, so that they can, go and complete that assignment. But I'm always still on Zoom so that they can come back at any point if they have questions or if they want to clarify something. But beyond that, extra help, they can contact me anytime by email and set up a time. And we can work during that flex time in the afternoon and set up a time to meet on Zoom and go over whatever assignment they might be struggling with. And I can work with them, one-on-one, or we might have a small group going at that time. I anticipate that will, some of those situations will be when we're writing essays where they may need a little bit of extra guidance or, some more help. And I'm very open and willing to do that. So I just need to know if they need that extra time. They'll just reach out to me, send me an email, and we will go ahead and schedule that appointment. They can actually use the class link, so there's not like they need a different Zoom code. They can just, we can click on that class link at any point and open up that Zoom meeting so that we can discuss and go through if they need that help. You should hopefully be on your student's Google Classroom account, and I've enabled it so that you should be able to see their progress on different assignments and how they're doing in the course. I also try really hard to keep Infinite Campus grades as updated as possible. Obviously, when they turn in essays, those can take me a while to get through, but I try to flag them so that you know whether they've turned it in or not. And if they haven't turned it in, I try to flag that missing as soon as possible so that you know and they know that it's, you know, hasn't been submitted, and they can kind of see the impact that that would have on their grade if they don't get that turned in. Usually at that point, they'll go ahead and, you know, and turn it in. Essays are not something that I ever expect students to work on in isolation. They're very, when I give an essay, I try really hard to break it down, and we work on different components each class and kind of build up to that first draft. And then from there, revise it, modify it before they turn in that final draft. When they submit that final draft, they should be feeling very confident with that product and feeling proud of it, that they've put forth their best effort and that they've met all the requirements. And they'd be submitting those essays, those final drafts on turnitin.com. If you have any questions or there's anything you'd like to discuss with me, please feel free to send me an email, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. We could also meet on Zoom if you want to have a conversation. Just let me know if you have any questions or there's anything that I can do to help your student in this class. Thank you for your time.